Welcome to our lovely future humans and the 5D collective as we continue our chit chat today on our child parts, and then we're going to have some stories. The child parts that live through us and that still get us to work with our charges. So we manage them, we master them as a 5D mystic, mindful mindset mentor, and podcast host and person who's living life with that, which is also spirituality. So you live a life of spirituality with that solo self beyond myself. I'm able to have a window welcome to Maria's child parts and to the emotional plane. So when you get angry, big girls can get angry, they can cry, they can be afraid. That's why we embody that, which is the Christ consciousness that you've heard about with fifth dimension. And I bring to you woo-woo pseudoscience stories for those of you who don't believe in mystics or spiritual experiences, but those of us who have them, we can tell you all about how amazing it is. So with you being grounded in reality, you'll know the timbre of the voice of truth with spirituality and sciences. I bring the human, spiritual, and spirituality elements, all subject matters together, and I have fun with it. Because I don't consider myself a teacher, but if I did, as Sadhguru points out, teaching should not be a profession, he says. It must be a passion, and I'm definitely passionate about giving you the download of how living our infinite higher human conscious potential experience is amazing. So higher self-led is what we do, and our past still lives through us. We just now know how to be aware of it. So when charges come up, you still manage them. Like I still manage my 3-year-old with my mom and my twin. Other than that, I'm pretty good at spotting when shit comes up because of that window of welcome. Okay, so once you have all your child parts one, you call yourself with your human name, and it's owning the sense of self. And so I love to share inspiring human potential, perspectives, teachings. If we do one-to-one mentorship, that's together a plan. If you are looking into our paid content, we have daily exercises or weekly, depends how often you like to work with your anger, sadness, fear, and other emotional aspects. And we have the Inner Growth Mindset Program. The online course has 3 levels, and the 3 main modules for each level are for free on the website, the main one. So you can start looking at the teaching style. And if you are curious of the courses in and of themselves, please let me know, because the beginners is on Udemy, but it might be hitting, and the intermediate and advanced I still need to get on Udemy because I'm not sure I want them on the platform or not yet. And also, before I continue with our chit chat, the 9th chakra, 8th chakra, channeled guidance, food for thought practice that will be for our patron members to purchase will be ready hopefully by the end of the month, because you are going to be working on that 9th chakra, 8th chakra for the continuation of the 2025 and beyond, since it is, once you're consistently expanding as yourself, that you continue to have, not only for those of you who understand your soul's path, but also personal growth. So spirituality life is a consistent expansion. As an Akashic Records reader, once you are part of that community with our toolkits, we are consistently with love and knowing how to stay up here while we perceive that which is some down here, some here, okay, and some the enlightenment frequency. Okay, the past that lives through us are the charges that we, though, are uncharged, our child parts asleep. If they get triggered, there's reasons. We know how to work with them, being aware, accountable, and regulating consistently. So, as Sadhguru points, teaching, not a profession, it must be a passion. Why? Because only then can education move from an imposition of facts to exploration of the truth. But furthermore, so can those who are professionals remember how sciences works, and to continue having the model that is of quantitative data replicating itself. There's a reason why sciences and spirituality come together in the 5D mystic, spiritual, mindful, living, loving plane, and that's because we're grounded in reality. So number 1, our cherishable beliefs can all be falsifiable. Number 2, we're not pseudo-intellectuals. I'm pseudoscience because I know of true sciences. And then number 3, true scientists know that 97% of what is out there is unavailable for them to observe, and therefore they understand why we have flat earthers and a lot more. And so the child parts that live through every person, if you're a emotionally, mentally intelligent human being, you'll know you don't talk sense to those who don't want to be it, to those who don't want wellness. And those who don't want wellness don't want to become discerning, equanimous love, which is the timbre of the voice of God over here, and the experience with God, Jesus, Holy Spirit of Maria. And when I moved into mysticism with the Akash space, Anima Mundi, empowered feminine, and that which is empowered masculine, feminine, divine, not divine, amazing. Mother Earth doesn't want to eat us. Infinite space, Akash doesn't want to eat us. So when you hear the individuals who are still in a battle, because the battle never ends, they are the ones who don't have the capacity yet to be dominant in their calming state. And so they're not looking to consistently engage in the parasympathetic nervous system, which is instead what we're doing. So emotionally and mentally intelligent human beings who manage their child parts and who also master them and then bring forth the best version of you, which is your grown-up version. It's because of our prefrontal cortex. And so we're securely attached, non-traumatized people. We have basically a car alarm that works effectively, while the ones who don't want this, they have a car alarm that is overly sensitive. So anything can trigger it. They can also be a shame, blame, fault, revenge, a pattern. So the low self-esteem, indirect communicators, passive aggressive, they're considered half safe by people like Patrick Tiahan, who's a therapist who is helping childhood trauma survivors to heal. So to those who are not in the I Need You Patrick Tiahan group, we are okay with being able to be around anyone who is emotionally immature. However, part of our micro habits, those of us who are self-regulating, empowered, enlightening, emotionally and mentally intelligent people, we have habits that we engage in. We'll be discussing these. I'm going to make a couple of series and episodes on them, but we will consistently at least give you 3 right now. That way we can close on out with this. We get our sleep. Sleep is very important. We know how to spot our nervous system and how much energy it might have or not have. And so we also remember that is very important for us and how we're going to handle ourselves, which is why we are going to work consistently to be at our best. Example, my panic attacks. If I'm having any of the signs that I might be on a low threshold, on those days, I have a friend of mine in particular that I'm thinking about. I'll use him because his sympathetic can sometimes just send me into like, I need you to step away. And I become this little 1-year-old of my own self, which is, okay. So in one of the occasions I was out and I was in one of those moments and I was completely just like on his ass about move away, move away, move away. And as people were around us, one of the people, family member, knows me very well and is pretty objective about how we all can be objective about each other with those flaws and imperfections. And so they're objective about the two of us because they've known both of us long enough. And so they looked at me and they're like, no, this time, usually, yes, I would tell you yes, but no, this time it's you. And it wasn't, it's you in a way of blaming. No, it was you're short-tempered, you're short-did-up. And I already knew that I was in a bit of a state of low threshold. So I said, okay, fair enough. Okay, well, let me, get up and leave, though, because I'm not going to be able to sit here with the individual who is basically having a good time. Nobody's upset, but this is where we are energetic bodies, and so our nervous systems, they pick up. So I can differentiate. Dr. Daniel Siegel, in fact, in classes, I have 4 classes with him, and in 2 I got to ask him a couple of questions. And in one of them he said, Maria, I think you need to differentiate more. So in this case, I am aware that I'm clashing with another person's nervous system. They have child parts, I have child parts. I have bandwidth with my parasympathetic, but I'm still being in a low energy moment. I'm going to bring it that way, Maria's words. And because the panic attacks, you all, if you have gone through them, you would know you're expanding the window welcome to that too. So you still are uncomfortable. It's just you gain more comfort as you gain. I've gone out at least twice more with them present because I want to continue to do my day-to-day. I had some events that I wanted to go to. So it didn't make it less or more comfortable, but it's something you will easily approach and do because you want to, go and live life, and it's not like something dramatic, at least for a person who is dominant with the calming nervous system. So let me again reiterate, good alarm, it's not highly sensitive, so you have a window of welcome that is expanding. That's why you're creating resilience in the restorative embodiment. That's why you're actually continuing to, it's like a rubber band, grow your energy body, grow your emotional depth body, grow your mental depth body. And that's where, when you read about how long emotions last, 90 seconds, that's because you're using your prefrontal cortex versus a temporal junction. It's because you're thinking and looking at the feelings, and you're not making up assumptions or fueling a story. So you're not allowing any of that, which would be rumination, which is what the codependent, and that is people who have a default mode network that is, instead of being downregulated like mine is, it's being used, or I wanted to say revved up, but that might not be the accurate terminology, but basically they have a helpless, hopeless state. So their default mode network is in the I need help, and so they have a window of tolerance, not a window welcome, to their destabilized moment, and then they're not noticing that their sensations, images, affects, behaviors, and meanings are taking over. And actually, I'm going to use Patrick Tan. He has a good example of what childhood trauma projection is like. And so in one instance, he gives these two people, they walk into a supermarket, and the cashier looks at them, or they're looking in the direction, and they turn to each other and like, look, that bitch is looking at us, even though he doesn't curse. So I forget how he posed it, but it was basically people spotting someone who looks over, and they're just like, I don't like the look. And then we have another example is, a person in a shower, they're going to get to work, and they're all upset because they got someone who at work is a pain in the ass. And if Bill looks at me one more time, I'm going to beat him up. That's called projection. So people who don't want to harness their irritation, we work with anger. With our paid content, we have exercises, readings, and spotlights. And one of the exercises recently that I haven't added yet again, but you find a portfolio of a certain amount of exercises and readings and spotlights, which I'm reminded I need to write down on my notes to organize our free playlists on YouTube so that you can check them out, because we have 3-minute, 5-minute, and 15-minute for the short attention span, and the short attention span because of short amount of time. Long story short, when you are your child parts and you want to master, manage, and become the best version of you, you're happy to work with it. And for the mystics who are spiritual, we're happy to be Christ consciousness, because embodying that which is the forgiveness that Jesus taught us, embodying that which is turning the other cheek, embodying that which is don't cast a stone, embodying that which is blessed are those who believe without seeing, forgive them for they do not know. Biologically rude, emotionally immature people don't know. It's automatic behaviors, which is why Bessel van der Kolk says you're not going to recognize or understand, says that you don't understand dysregulated or regulated. Those are automatic behaviors. So you become aware, you become accountable, you become self-regulating, then you're going to have a good time here, because that's what we get to continue doing, is people master being their self, because they want to deal with unknowns, uncertainties, unwanteds, unexpecteds from within by being themselves with an open heart and going with the flow, which is amazing. So using the bright sides of neuroplasticity, using the bright sides of everything that you are humanly speaking, which is why I get to have honest conversations with you and real life experiences, scenarios, stories from my mystic 5D enlightenment and empowering higher self-consciousness led day-to-day experiences, because it's not hard to be the bigger person. It's not that I'm better, it's that I'm an emotionally mature, actual adult. And I say actual because my child is still here, and when she meets not actual adults, I have new stories for you. Hey Cusco, what's up? Which one of your faces am I dealing with today, Cusco? Is it Pinocchio with the ears? Is it the complete donkey? Is it Pinocchio that's made of wood? Is it Pinocchio after hitting rock bottom and going back to do it all over again? Are you rising from the ashes with some new superhero, supervillain story? Who do I get to meet today, Cusco? Because anytime you hear the word Cusco, it's the Emperor's New Groove, but it's an adaptive child part person who's not half safe to me. They're a clown who's wearing a mask, who I find buffoonery, but God continuously tells me to remember that emotions are the most amazing. No, that's me, Maria, now. God tells me not to judge my brothers and sisters of human suffering, a waste of my fucking time. Buddha makes fun of me because he knows the wisdom that I find by being able to discern. And then Jesus knows I know how to be equanimous and loving. And then I know how to tell you emotions don't get the best of me. They get to teach me how to become a better person, a better everything. Why better? Because why would I not want to love? I have 24 hours. Why would I not want to be in my parasympathetic nervous system? Nothing happened. I'm having a conversation with you. I can breathe, and I can know that I love, live, laugh, learn, and I expand, and that's why I spotlight higher self-led mindset, lifestyle practices, points of views, and tell you real deal. The ones who don't know how to do this, they don't know God's discerning, equanimous love. They don't know the timbre of the voice of truth because they don't notice that in their head there is that timbre. When you're in your parasympathetic, you will hear the voice of that which is an empowered masculine alongside an empowered feminine, and you will hear that which is any of those true adults who know, like Terrio, Peter Levine, Bessel van der Kolk, Patrick Tiahan, all of them, how a 0-1-year-old in the womb, and then when they're born, don't choose to have scary situation. So again, we don't give anyone a green or red pass. That's actually not a 5D mystic spiritual enlightenment soul age group person with Akash job. The Akashic field is only love. The ones who are in the negative frequency are the ones who can rise above. That's if they take themselves seriously and take their child part seriously. And they therefore honor themselves by allowing themselves to take all the time it will take for them to reparent, and then to be able to one day be around those of us who don't hold humanity's ignorance against them and over their head. And so we don't have revenge, we don't have spite, we don't have charges of our child parts that we will allow ourselves to say, oh yeah, charge, let me make up a story of that group, let me make up a story of that. You know what, let me continue to use the timbre of the self-righteous low frequency of that which is a brain that is dumbed down, because when you begin to get into your anger and you don't manage it and you don't become aware of it and you don't say, I'm not going to be the small version of me, I'm going to be not Maria's 3-year-old, I want to be Maria's grown-up because I can. Okay, so inner growth, external growth. I'm being gifted the opportunity when my emotions come up to become more of me, not less of me. I ain't broken. I'm innocent. You're innocent. You haven't touched me one finger yet. And if you did, I would call the cops on you immediately. So as long as there's physical safety, an emotionally mature human being who has all their child parts and who wants to share that which is what Jesus taught us, and that means like Sadhguru or like any other smart, empowered, enlightened human being, mystic or not, I can be a bigger person because trauma affects every person. The minute you begin to get in an unnecessary anger, certainty, stupidity, stereotypes, dogma, you name it. So when people get in their upset brain, the brain begins to use that which is superficial and stereotype behavior, data points. And so they don't know the truth, because their voice is going to tell me that they're only using 10 of Wendy's books, 20 of Wendy's books, 30 of Wendy's books, 50, it doesn't matter. It's not an infinite number, and they're just using books. They're not a mystic. They're regurgitating information because they decided what they believe is the ultimate truth. They don't have it in them. You're not the ultimate truth of anything. You're just one of the many different voices out there that thinks you know everything, not you. But that's exactly why anybody who wants to come to tell a person who knows they don't know all the truth, liar, 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 liar. And they don't like to hear that. The ones who don't have the child parts of theirs handled and then mastering them. And then remember, we are on a journey called I'm Me, You're You, and we have a playground right now as we interact. I won't say the globe is a playground because we all know that there are children who are screaming out there who are not in a playground. And I'm not going to even go to those topics because I support people to become their true self and to tap into their infinite higher human consciousness potential, which consistently will mean to be able and be in the wellness industry, and therefore positive vibes, yes, ventral energy vibes, and also to be able to present with all due respect that which is common sense. So grounded in reality, people know that all of our cherishable beliefs could be falsifiable. God is a belief of mine. Lucifer and demons are not about beliefs nor evil. Nope, they all have a very specific place. The people who end up on Michael Stone, friends or criminologist scales, evil scale, in prison, and the ones who don't are the ones who the other ones think are amazing. And I don't find them amazing at all, but I do know that everyone serves a purpose and that we are all going to lead ourselves to that which is heaven, because it's one in our bodies, but two, because intelligence, mental, emotional, are the groups of people who thrive and who can spot every bit of golden nuggets out there, and then we can spot the truth, and then we can spot the timbre of the voices of those who are resonating with that which is the Akashic field, and that know how our species consistently evolves with decentralizing of the self and expanding. So we humanly evolve, we consciously expand, societal culture goes through transformation because we get new universally accepted concepts, and that's why humanities and social sciences, which is my background, is something very straightforward. The economy goes through changes, politics go through changes, there's a bunch of changes, and anybody who's destabilized by any of that is basically a person who does not know how to stay grounded in their reality, because they don't know how to stay alive and grounded in their embodied brain. And therefore they're not yet completely bilaterally, vertically, overall integrated, so they don't know how to manage their child parts. So when they come up, there it is. And that's why we don't do any shaming, blaming, faulting, or revenging, because that's only for the ones who are in the petty, low self-esteem of themselves. And then they don't recognize that they've been cut off from Purusha, pure consciousness, Prakriti, pure energy, because their 3-year-old and their innocence is nowhere to be found, as they have a 16-year-old version of themselves that's like this. And sometimes you'll see me do this when I'm talking about those of us who are not in this. And that's because I haven't a posture for us that are dominated with the calming state. So the calming state is really just chit-chatting. But this means sympathetic. So, and don't think of me as linear, please. Think of me as not linear completely. And I use words in Maria's way. Sometimes they're completely off from the dictionary. I'm going, around, bringing to you a story, bringing to you different concepts, and I'm arriving at sharing you, I guess you could say, painting a picture, but it's not an accurate one. It's more like sloppy. But it's pretty, right? It's that modern art. So I already know those who tune in are the ones who can follow. But if some of you might feel at times like, that's because I'm not linear. I'm trying to let you know. So I go right, right, there it is, and then I go left. So whatever words come out, it's as a consequence of what I'm feeling and not from me remembering any of how the words are explained. And that's why I'm a 3-year-old right here, 1-year-old, 3-year-old, you name it. So you will know when your child parts come up, you have them all handled and great and dandy. You don't shame yourself. You don't find yourself defective. No one's defective, and actually all you want when there's splinters or ruptures between you and other is to hug. That's all a child will want, is I want it to be okay, I want to hug you, I want to make up. That's at least from the innocent child over here, and that's why I don't know what it's like to be a child that has a fear of that which is a hug. But I know Stephen Porges explains that those who turn to mobilization and shut down, they will have stories for every time their body does something. And that's why their somatic narrative counts more, but they will be confused, as Patrick Tan points out, as childhood trauma survivors doubt every bit of kindness that comes their way. They test it. Dr. Daniel Fox points that one out. They will perceive neutrality as dangerous, and that's their implicit memory consistently like screaming, "That's not real, that's not real," because of their own childhood. And so, blaming a monster for that when there's the homes are the monsters. But then again, not always. Sometimes it's because of a random yell from the neighborhood. So remembering that trauma is not the event, but that it is the response of the embodied brain. And so it's not a black and white yes or no. Those who are smart know this, but there are those who are not aware that it's not 1 or 2 words, attachment, or 3 or 4. as lovely Dr. Daniel Siegel presented in one of his latest newsletters, people are all talking about attachment, but they're making it into a very simplified topic by labeling. That's not you. Once you understand, if you have any of not securely attached, you go heal it. And then once you are your own self-led, you'll be like, oh look, all my child parts coming up. And that's why you take yourself seriously, and that's why the 5D collective are those who love, like Jesus taught us, because we can forgive. And that's not because we did anything special. It's because children are innocent, and the ones who are not, it's very sad because they are not, because they were around something and or more. So we don't hold humanity's ignorance against them, and we don't blame a monster, because in my case personally, I knew the monster wasn't there by the time I was 20, and as a mystic I know it because of my channeling, downloading, and being in different dimensions and different planes. And as an Akashic record reader, again, I know the plane on the field, the quantum one, and then I know the other frequency ones. And then as a grounded in reality person, I know all about how science explains exactly how the embodied brain works, and they prove it with quantitative, and they're going to keep proving it. So if someone doesn't want to believe in how science talks about the embodied brain, I don't have anything to say to them, except for you obviously don't know that they didn't disprove God or spirituality. They disprove that your brothers and sisters, who, by the way, Jesus informed you, have the kingdom of God within them, who, by the way, as source, you should know they're all part of the source. By the way, so the people who don't catch their low frequency inconsistency are the same ones who have an in group and an out group. And they've decided that all of whatever their in-group says is good. So they are also hypocrites, and they lack complete morality and integrity, because they didn't notice that what they like is what they're choosing as right and good, and that what they don't like, they're choosing as wrong and bad. And then they're using God and Lucifer and demons and all those stories to where they like it and where they don't like it, which is exactly why the only people who will be, again, anywhere near any of the 5D collective will be the ones who know the timbre of the voice of truth with spirituality and sciences, which means we're all our own authority as self-agents, and then we have a good time with words and stories. And we don't say this is true or this is not true, because we know what we are looking at when it comes to facts. And that sciences and all education is really great, because they teach us things. The ones who are not obviously now completely against every little bit of new information as it comes about. I mean, I don't have any kind of kids, so I don't know about the schools, but I did hear about the whole change with math and how parents, some of them are like, why? And I don't get it, but part of me is like, well, I mean, I'm assuming there's a good reason for it. Maybe there's not, but really, at the end of the day, things do go through changes. So whether you like it or not, it's happening. And whether people like it or not, we have sciences that proves all people have that, which are trauma charges. They can all work with them, and that's the basic child parts. Then for those who have a biological paradox like disorganized attachment, there can be help too. And so it's really great that our neuroscience, neurobiology, mental health, all the sciences are finding out how to support each other, us, a human species, to collaborate and to continue using our social engagement system, which is why the calming system, it's amazing. I mean, eustress is what it's called. Which is where it's good stress. So you're able to have a default mode network, your habitual brain down-regulated, you're a conduit, so your resilience is a good resilience because you're not using the survival mode. The survival mode, people can use Dr. Amy Pegan, and once they're done with that and they're finally aware of, I'm going to use my ventral vagal, they're going to have fun here because we like all the gooey stuff. And our child parts, when they come up, again, we don't be like, oh, your charge part, bad. And no, we don't allow it to get exaggerated either, though. So that when people point things out, we're like, okay, I'll write that down next time. And so it's a lot of fun for our window of welcomes to our mental, emotional, and physical plane, the depths of ourselves and being our true selves. We'll be back with some stories. And in the meantime, have a good one.